So today I'm going to go through this notebook here and talk a little bit about the evolution of the Apathy logo over the past year or so. As you know, I take part in every aspect of this project, including the logo designing as well as the album covers, which is why they look like they were made by an amateur. Each album has a unique logo designed in some way to capture the imagery that's on the album, and this is probably going to be the case for as long as this project remains alive. So typical black metal logos are ambigrams, like this Emperor logo here, or this Winter Sun logo, where basically they're designed to read the same way, forwards and backwards, or upside down. It's usually either that or the bands go with what looks like a mess of pile of sticks that you can't read. I wanted to use the idea of an ambigram without having a stereotypical design, so I started with just the first letter and the last letter, the capital A and the capital Y. I also wanted the lowercase p and the lowercase a to reflect on one another, and for the H to somewhat resemble the P. Finally, the T would sit in the middle and hold it all together. So these right here are the original concepts of the Apathy logo, the very first pages in this book with any sort of logo design. After a couple of iterations, it reached this eventual 2D version right here. These versions of the logo, they're all very round, and the primary focus is on the A and the Y, which is literally just the A flipped over and drawn upside down. This is the version that I ended up settling on, and for anyone that's found my old SoundCloud page, I did post a link on my Facebook page. You'll see the digital version of the design. That was not created by me. I outsourced it to someone else, a graphic designer, assuming that he would basically scan this exact version and trace over it perfectly, but that didn't really turn out to be the case. The version I got back was a little bit off, and I feel like the spacing of the letters was too wide, and the design for the letter T and the letter H were bad anyway, so this logo didn't stick for very long. You can see I played with a couple of other radical different ideas, but eventually I settled on this. It's the same exact concept as before, but it's a lot sharper. Actually, I'd say the influence here was sticks and branches, sort of a nature theme going on. I was able to refine the design to this. Here, the T and the H both still kind of suck, but for lack of better design, I ended up settling on this for the logo on the demo. This time, instead of sending it to someone else, I decided to do it myself, and to give you a glimpse on how primitive this whole process is, what I do is I snap a picture of this exact drawing, uploaded it to my computer, and traced over it with hand and a mouse, no drawing pad, in MS Paint of all programs. That's why the final product looks a little bit different. It's a lot wider, it's a lot smoother, and it doesn't have like the stick-like irregular qualities that you see in this drawing. During the digital process, I decided to scrap this T out with the cross pattern you can see on the actual demo logo, and it's supposed to resemble a flying bird. Actually, it's kind of a nod to Led Zeppelin's Falling Icarus. All I had to do after that was to basically solve what I call the H problem. For no good reason on the final design, the H has serifed ends, even though everything else doesn't. After the demo, I played with a lot of different designs. For example, this one would have been an early version of what Insomnia would have been like, and it's sort of made to resemble eyes and sort of like the corner of your eyes or eyelashes and so forth. Obviously, this did not end up being the final product. Here, you can see a logo for Origins, and that goes to show how early the idea for Origins was created, because I hadn't even created the final logo for Insomnia yet, but still, I already have some concepts for what I wanted for the fourth album. This is another drawing I did later for Origins as well. It ends up looking very close to the Rebirth album, And you can see here the H problem is actually solved. Instead of a round H, I went with a sharp design that is an upside down reflection of the Y. So it sort of takes what's going on between the P and an A and it carries it over to the H and the Y. You know, we have the A and the upside down Y and this T cross that sort of ties everything together. Here I have the logo for Insomnia. The basic idea behind this is that I would create the A and the Y ambigram based on the letter Y instead of the letter A. And of course, because the album has such strong imagery with the ocean and with waves, I decided to create a more smooth wave-like design. On the actual version of the album, the tails of the A and the Y extend further out. The H still does not look that great, and that's probably the only thing that I don't like about that logo. The real problem is I'm still drawing over the stuff with the mouse. As a matter of fact, now I'm still using a mouse to draw over the Apathy logos, so on Rebirth and Origins it's done like that as well. If I ever really want a logo that looks like one of these hand sketches, I really probably need a drawing pad. This right here, this is a special page that I ripped out because this is, as you can see down here on the bottom, the logo for Rebirth. And the reason why I ripped it out was because at the time I had decided to settle and this was going to be a permanent Apathy album before I kept drawing, and I drew an original concept for Origins and then went and decided instead I would have a unique logo for every single album. But as you can see here, this basically is the ideal version of what the original Apathy logo should have looked like. Again, you have the A and the Y, the P and the A are reversed, the H sort of resembles the Y here, and the T pattern. Similar to the early concept Origins logo I showed you before. There are a ton of different designs in this book. For example, like this, where the P and the A are more squared off. And finally, here. This is the version of the Origins logo. I'm not really going to talk too much about the cover and the meaning of this logo until I get to the album, but I decided to use the different design on this for a purpose. To fit the narrative of what the album was about, I wanted something that was a lot more primitive and looked sort of like a cave drawing or like a scratch drawing. The inspiration for this logo is actually a dragon. We have the head here, you know, the tail, the wings, and the P and the A representing scales and so on. As for albums I've released so far, that's it. You know, I keep drawing different concepts and keep coming out with different ideas, but usually for the final versions of the logos, I wait until the album's been fully written so I can get a better feel for what the concept is before designing the logo to fit to that. So that's basically it for logos. There's not really much more that I wanted to talk about, so instead I'm going to go and relearn how to play Insomnia for the first couple of breakdown videos.